Dr. Manoj Kumar Sahoo, and he's an assistant professor or professor of Nalanda University, Bhubaneswar, and sir is going to deliver the lecture. It's GEEC 02, sorry, 04, Block 1. Sir, please carry on. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, madam. So I think there are how many students? One student or two student?
सर एक्चुअली
If I,
दिस इज लाइव इज गोइंग ऑन यूट्यूब सेशन है स्ट्रीम यार्ड किया गया है सो
okay,
आई एम नॉट एबल टू सी हाउ मेनी स्टूडेंट हैव ज्वाइंड सो बट यू प्लीज कैरी ऑन
okay.
यस सर
So good evening to my dear students. So today we will discuss about different topics. I'm just sharing this screen. Just wait for 1 minute. Now is it visible? I think. Hello. I think is it visible to everyone? Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Eh,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Hello.
My screen is
Sir,
visible.
visible, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Visible and Sayat.
Okay. Now these slides are showing.
Visible, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. Okay. Very good evening to my dear students. So today we'll discuss about GEC 4 and Block 1, that is containing your introductory macroeconomics. So myself, Dr. Manoj Kumar Sahu, Assistant Professor HOD MBA, Nalanda Institute of Technology, Bhubaneswar. So today we'll discuss about various topics related to the introduction about the macroeconomics and the basic concepts. Now the focus of this unit is on basic concepts that includes utility, wealth, goods, demand, supply, exchange, margin, and economic methodology and economic laws related to equilibrium concept, and also we will discuss about the positive and normative economics, stocks, flow, what is statics and what is dynamics, opportunity cost, and also national income concepts. Now moving further, the first we will discuss about what is utility. The word satisfying power of a commodity is known as utility, and utility differs from person to person. Okay, for example, apple, but a rotten egg has no utility because it cannot be exchanged for anything. It possesses no value in exchange. Since a apple, you can take some apples and you will get some benefit, some utility from that apple. But if a apple or a egg or something like that is rotten, okay, वो खराब हो गया, सड़ा हुआ है, then we cannot get any utility, any satisfaction from that goods. So it has no value in exchange. So that's why utility is defined as the want satisfying power of a commodity. कोई भी प्रोडक्ट का, कोई भी commodity का अगर क्षमता होता है वांट को सेटिस्फाई करने का, हम उसको बोलते हैं यूटिलिटी. एंड इट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम पर्सन टू पर्सन. A person or the utility what I derive from one apple, and that may not be equal with the utility what the other persons will derive from the apple. So utility basically differs from person to person. Now what is value again? The term value is used in two different senses. Firstly, it is used to convey the usefulness of goods to their users or consumers. In this sense, it has utility for the users and is therefore useful to them. Such a value is called the use value of a product. Okay, so value, there is a thing that is called use value of a product, and secondly a product that has a value in the sense that it can be exchanged or sold against something else. That is called as the exchange value, and the price for which it can be sold is termed as the exchange value. So value is basically two things. One is use value, another is exchange value. Okay, there are two things. Whenever we use any product and get some value from that product or that commodity, then it is called as use value. And whenever we get exchange that product with something else, then we get some exchange value from that product. Suppose we exchange money and we purchase apple and we get some value from that apple, so that is the exchange value of that money. Suppose is 10 rupees, then that we call it as the exchange value of that apple is 10 rupees. Okay, now what is wealth? In common use, the term wealth means money, property, gold, but in economics it is used to describe all the things that have value. So for a commodity to be called wealth in economics, it must possess three things basically. One is utility, second one is scarcity, and the third one is transferability. And if it lacks even one quality, it cannot be termed as wealth. See, suppose we have a property or any money, or you can say silver or gold. So it will has we can exchange that money or gold and get some product that we derive that product, that is the utility value. Whatever satisfaction we derive, that is called as the utility value. Next is your scarcity. That product will not be available in plenty of amounts. You say the gold. Gold we cannot get in plenty of, okay, everywhere. So that has some scarcity or shortage. Transferability. For example, property or land, it cannot be transferred from one place to another place. So that is the third feature of a wealth. So it lacks even one quality, we cannot call it as the wealth. So wealth is also different types: individual wealth, social wealth, national wealth, international wealth, financial wealth. So individual wealth means wealth owned by an individual is called the private or individual wealth, such as a car, house, or company. For example, a house owner can be called as the individual wealth. Social wealth, goods which are owned by the society are called the social or collective wealth, such as schools, colleges, road, canals, mines, forest, etc. are called the social wealth because it serves the benefits to the society. That is social wealth. National or real wealth. National wealth includes all the individual and social wealth. National wealth means the wealth which belongs to the nation, to the country. It consists of material assets possessed by the society. Okay, so national wealth is the real wealth because national wealth is always measured in terms of real things, that is in terms of goods and services. So national or real wealth. International wealth. The United Nations Organization and its various agencies like World Bank, International Monetary Fund, World Health Organization. So all these things are the international wealth because all the countries contribute towards their operations. So every member country of these organizations contributes some amount of money for the development of the organization. And all these organizations are continuously working for the development of the nation, for the whole country, for the whole world. So that is called as the international wealth. Next is your financial wealth. Financial wealth is the holding of money, stocks, bonds, etc. by individuals in the society. So financial wealth is excluded from national wealth. Okay. So financial wealth is excluded from the national wealth. We cannot include the financial wealth in the national wealth. This is because money, stocks, bonds are the examples of financial wealth, and which individuals hold as a wealth or claims against one another. That means suppose a bond paper. So Mr. X may be a owner of that bond paper or that stock or the share. So that is a title to wealth, not the exactly the wealth of the nation. So that is called as the financial wealth. So wealth, where money, stocks and bonds, shares, debentures are measured in terms of financial products. We call it as the financial wealth. So wealth are different types: individual wealth, social wealth, national wealth, international wealth, financial wealth. Now moving forward, now what is the meaning of goods? In economic, goods are the items that satisfy the human wants and provide utility. For example, to a consumer making a purchase of a satisfying product, that is called as the goods. So anything which satisfy the human wants, we call as the goods. Okay, so goods are the items that satisfy the human wants, and it gives some satisfaction, gives some utility to the consumer. Okay, so a common distinction is made between the goods which are transferable and services which are not transferable. A common distinction is made between the goods which are transferable and services which are not transferable. Examples of goods are pen, apple, car, and clothing. So example of services are house, cleaning, doctor's treatment, bankers service, hotels and restaurant service. So examples of goods are pen, apple, car. We can call it as the goods. But what are the services which we cannot touch, which do not have any physical existence? We can only feel the benefits. That is, I'm teaching now in the class. So that is a service. All the bankers are providing different types of facilities or services in the banks. So that is also service. Hotels, restaurants, waiters are providing meals, foods in the restaurants. That is also service. So service do not have any physical existence. Okay, and they are not transferable. Okay. Now moving further, what is the meaning of demand? So demand means in basically in economics the desire for a commodity backed by ability to pay, and the willingness to purchase a commodity is known as demand. So to be called demand in economics, we should have three things. First one is desire for a commodity backed by ability to pay and the willingness to purchase that commodity. For example, you have an interest to consume a rasgulla, but you don't have any ability to pay. That means you don't have any monetary resources with you or in your pocket to pay for that. So you cannot call it as a demand. Suppose even if you have the desire and if you have also ability, you may not be called as the demand because you don't have any willingness to purchase. Means, suppose for example, a beggar, sorry, a miser person. A miser person don't have any willingness to purchase because that miser may have the icha, may have the desire, और it has the ability, उसके जेब में पैसा होता है, पर उसके पास willingness नहीं होता है, उसके पास willingness नहीं होता है. That means to purchase that product, he always thinks that somebody will purchase for him and he will get the benefit. So to be called a demand in economics, three things to be fulfilled: desire for a commodity, ability to pay, and the willingness to purchase that commodity is known as demand in economics. So demand and price are inversely related to each other. Okay, if you take the relationship between price and demand, we can call there is an indirect relationship between price and demand. That means if the price of any product increases or commodity increases, the demand for that product declines, and vice versa. Means if the price decreases, then the demand for that product increases. So they have an indirect relationship or negative relationship between price and demand. So moving further, the another concept is supply. So what is the meaning of supply? The quantity of goods and services offered for sale at a given price is known as supply. That means whatever amount of goods we offered for sale purpose that is known as supply. And the price and supply are directly related to each other. That means if you offer more price to the seller will supply more goods and services. And if you offer less price to the seller will supply less goods and services. So phone as we offer more price to the seller supplies more goods and services and vice versa. So there is a positive relationship between price and supply. Moving further, the new concept is utility. Utility refers to the degree of pleasure or satisfaction that an individual receives from an economic act. So utility means the degree of satisfying of a product, that is known as utility, or the one satisfying power of a commodity is known as utility. For example, a consumer purchases a hamburger to alleviate hunger, pangs, and to enjoy a tasty meal, providing her with some utility. Suppose somebody is enjoying a burger or pizza to meet its hunger. So that means he or she gets some utility from that pizza. Okay, so that is called as utility. So the one satisfying power of a commodity is known as utility. Marginal utility. The additional utility we derive from the consumption of goods is known as marginal utility. Suppose we consume first chocolate and we get 10 units of satisfaction. Whenever we consume the second chocolate, then we get suppose 20 units of satisfaction. Now, what is the marginal utility we derive from second utility? The 20 minus 10, that is equal to 10. So that additional 10 is known as the marginal utility or the consumption of an extra unit of output. एक यूनिट एक्स्ट्रा कंजम्पशन करने से हमें कितना एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट ऑफ मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी मिलता है, that additional or extra amount is known as the marginal utility. So in this example, पहला जो चॉकलेट हमने खाया था उसमें हमें 10 यूनिट सेटिस्फेक्शन मिला था. जब हमने दूसरा चॉकलेट खाया उसमें हमें 20 यूनिट से सेटिस्फेक्शन मिला. तो एक यूनिट एक्स्ट्रा खाने से कितना एक्स्ट्रा हमने जोड़ा टोटल यूटिलिटी में, हमने 10 यूनिट एक्स्ट्रा जोड़ा. दैट 10 और दैट 10 यूनिट्स is known as the marginal utility. That is the additional or extra utility we add with the total utility. That is marginal utility. Okay. So you see from this table that whenever we consume one apple, 1 unit of apple, we get total utility 20 rupees and the marginal utility 20. Now whenever we consume second apple, then we get 35 utility, that is the total utility 35 and marginal utility 15. So here we get the 15. So 35 minus 20, that is total utility. 35 minus 20, that becomes your 15. So at the initial stage, total utility and marginal utility becomes same. So 20-20. And in the second unit, the marginal utility is 15. Similarly, from the third unit, the marginal utility is 10 because 45 minus 35 is equal to 10. Now in the fourth unit of apple gives 5 units of marginal utility. Okay, because 50 minus 45, that is equal to 5. Similarly, we can derive the seventh, whenever we consume seventh apple, then we derive 35 units of totality, but the marginal utility becomes negative, that is the 10. 35 minus 45, that is equal to minus 10. Okay, so if we continuously consume one after another anything, after reaching one point, the total utility no doubt increases, but the marginal utility will decline, that is minus 10. Now the next concept of macroeconomics, introductory to macroeconomics, is microeconomics and macroeconomics. Now what is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? Microeconomics and macroeconomics is derived from the two Greek words. Micro is derived from the Greek word micros, whereas macro is derived from the Greek word macros. So micros means small, whereas macros means large. So microeconomics is the study of economics of an individual level, whereas macroeconomics is the study of a national economy as a whole, as a large case. So microeconomics is a study of how individuals and companies make decisions to allocate scarce resources, whereas macroeconomics is the study of an economy of a country as a whole. So माइक्रोइकोनॉमिक्स हमेशा डिस्कस करता है कि पूरा देश के बारे में, पूरा वर्ल्ड के बारे में, बट माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स ऑलवेज टॉक्स अबाउट एक पर्टिकुलर इंडिविजुअल के बारे में. फॉर एग्जांपल, we are doing a research in the jungle and we want to study a particular tree. Okay, what is the lifetime of the tree, how many products we get from that tree. So all these things we collect data from one tree in the jungle. पूरे जंगल में एक ट्री के बारे में हम रिसर्च करते हैं. सो दैट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स. बट जब हम सारे पेड़ के बारे में, सारे ट्रीज के बारे में जंगल में रिसर्च किया, तो दैट द कॉन्सेप्ट बिलोंग्स टू द माइक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स. So macroeconomics talks about the large case, the whole case, whereas the microeconomics talks about the individual saving, individual investment, individual lifestyle, individual demand. But whereas macroeconomics talks about the whole country, the national income, the GDP, or the business cycle, inflation, deflation, recession, okay, the growth rate, all the concepts of the country or the whole world. That is the concept of microeconomics. So you can see from this difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics categorical is given on the basis of meaning. We can say microeconomic studies economic problems of an individual level, whereas macroeconomic studies economic problems at the level of economy as a whole. And on the basis of a determinants, the output and price for an individual firm, we study in case of microeconomics, whereas macroeconomics studies about aggregate output and the general price level of the whole economy. Aggregate output means the total output of the country or general price level of the country. And on the basis of what are the tools are used in case of microeconomics, we can say the demand and supply are the main tools of microeconomics, whereas the aggregate demand and aggregate supply are the main tools or instruments or the methods in case of microeconomics. So aggregate demand means the total demand, the gross demand, and the aggregate supply, the total supply. And depending upon the dependence criteria, so microeconomics assumes the variables like your individual households, थोड़ा सा mistakes हो गए, इधर उधर हो गए. So individual households, farms, okay, at of a particular company, of a particular farm, of a particular person. But whereas macroeconomics takes the variables such as national income, GDP, GNP, growth rate, aggregate demand, aggregate supply, inflation, so all these things. Okay, so this is the basically the difference between the microeconomics and the macroeconomics. So all the things already I have already discussed details, so that does not require any further discussion. Now concept is what is positive economics. So positive economics describes and explains various economic phenomena, whereas the normative economics focuses on the value of economic fairness or what the economy should be or ought to be. The positive economics explain करता है different economic matters, but whereas the normative economics से discuss करता है क्या होना चाहिए, what should be the economy, what ought to be. So we are, while positive economics is based on the fact and cannot be approved or disapproved, but normative economics is based on the concept of value judgment. Okay, so positive economics talks about only the fact, the real things, and which cannot be approved or disapproved. जिसको हम टाल नहीं सकते हैं, अप्रूव नहीं कर सकते हैं, ना इधर हम उसको डिसअप्रूव कर सकते हैं. So normative economics is basically based on the concept of value judgment, its expert opinion. Okay, so positive economics and normative economics. Moving further, you can say these are the different points. What is positive and normative economics? Positive economics theory talks about, or it is the objective of positive economics. We can say it explains the behavior of the economy and its important variables. Whereas the normative economics theory involves subjective value judgments about what economy must be or what measures is to be undertaken on the basis of a particular economic concept or theory. So basically, positive economics talks about the objective or scientific approach, whereas normative economics basically is the subjective value judgments. So positive economics talks about the facts, the studies, actual economic performance, whereas normative economics prescribes or suggests करते हैं हमेशा what should be done for the development of the economy. And if you move to the next point, positive economics is a basis for predicting, for calculating how the economy will respond if there is any changes required or if the changes happens. Whereas normative economics recommends, suggests for changes in economic policy to achieve the optimal or desired result. Again, positive economics is free from subjective value judgments, whereas normative economics is based on the concept of personal value judgments. The last point talks about the positive economic theory, which represents an approach of a scientist, practical thing. Whereas normative economics theory represents an approach of a politician. Okay, वो बोलता है, सजेस्ट करता है, ठीक है, theoretical concept बोलता है. Whereas positive economics talks about the practical concepts. Okay, so moving further, now what is concept of a stock and what is the concept of flow? So basically, stock is the quantity of a variable which is measured at a particular point of time. Flow is the quantity of a variable which is measured during a period of time. For example, in case of stock, quantity of a food grains stored in warehouse on 1st January 2018, the date is mentioned. On that particular date, the stock was maintained. But in case of flow, production of goods, food grains during the year 2017, it is a continuous thing. So whatever things we have produced or whatever food grains we have produced in the whole year, okay, not a particular date, it's a whole year. That is the flow concept. But whenever we are talking about any food grains production, that is a particular date is mentioned. That date talks about the stock concept, whereas the whole year, that is the continuous thing, is the flow concept. Now, for example, number of students in a school on 1st July 2017. Okay, if you were talking about a stock thing, so you can say, suppose on a 1st July 2022, okay, कितने student class में थे और school में थे, that is a particular date is mentioned. On a particular date, what was the number of the students? But in case of flow concept, the number of students in a school during the year 2021, suppose, so whole year में कितने student थे, not a particular date. So for example, you can say in case of stock, you can go for money supply is a stock concept, whereas national income is a flow concept. हम जब नेशनल इनकम कैलकुलेट करते हैं, पूरा साल का हम कैलकुलेट करते हैं, so that is a flow concept. But at a particular date, what was the money supply? That is a stock concept. So whenever we talk about the national wealth, that is a stock concept. But whenever we talk about the exports and imports, that is a flow concept. Stock is a static concept, flow is a dynamic or changeable concept. And if you further evaluate, the stock does not have a time mention, but it has a time mention per hour, per day, per month in case of flow. So this is the difference between stock concept and flow concept. Now, what are the definitions we use for static economics and dynamic economics? So basically, Professor Schumpeter defined the static analysis as a method of dealing with the economic phenomena that tries to establish relations between elements of a economic system, economic prices, and quantities of a commodity, all of which refer to the same point of time. So static always talks about a particular time, particular point of time. So according to Professor Strickler, the stationary state is an economy in which the taste, the resources, and the technology do not change throughout the time. So it talks about the whole year, whole time. It's a continuous thing. Okay. So it's a stock and static economics, and talks about if you talk about the dynamic economics. The word dynamics means causing to move. Dynamics always changeable. That is movement. So in economics, the term dynamics refers to the study of economic changes. It aims to trace and study the behavior of variables through time and determine whether these variables tend to move towards equilibrium. So dynamic economics talks about the dynamics concepts like your changeable concept, the variables which are changing from time to time, and it is always moving towards the equilibrium concept, the equal concept. So we have know that there is a movement into statics also, but this movement is certain, that is constant. So regular and it is expected. So while dynamics refers to that movement which is uncertain, which cannot be predicted, which cannot be calculated, unexpected and irregular. So dynamics refers to the movement, the changes, that is irregularity, unexpected things, uncertain things. But whereas the static concept, okay, movement is static, which is not move. That is the static concept. Now, what is the difference between static and dynamic economics? In static economic analysis, time element has nothing to do. In static economics, all the economic variables refers to the same point of time. So static economy is also called a timeless economy. उसका कोई time नहीं होता है, कोई time limit नहीं होता है. Static economy according to Higgs is one where we do not trouble about dating. That means डेट को लेके कोई परेशान नहीं होता है static. On the contrary, in dynamic economic, time element occupies a very important role because dynamic means it's a changeable thing, it is fluctuating. So here all quantities must be dated. Suppose to आज की डेट में मान लो तो व्हाट इज द स्टॉक, ठीक है. सो 8/8/2022 में आज की डेट में तो व्हाट वाज द स्टॉक of our company. So that is the static concept. Uh, that is sorry, that is the dynamic concept. Element occupies an important role. And what will be, or suppose if you want to calculate the dynamic things before 1 month, in the month of July, you can say that is the dynamic concept. So dynamic economics talks about different dates, different time periods, which is changeable. So economic variables refers to the different point of time. Economic variables also is always changing with the change in time. Now, what is the concept of ceteris paribus? That's a new concept regularly used in basically law of demand, law of supply, so any principle. So, what basically ceteris paribus means? Ceteris paribus is a Latin phrase which is derived from the Latin word, which means other things remaining constant. Okay. Now, what are the other things? Now, other things may be population, technology, income, taste and preference, habits, all these things. So Satis Paribus basically talks about uh, a commodity that is rendered or a prediction or a statement about causal or logical connections between two states of affairs, and it's qualified by Ceteris Paribus in order to acknowledge that and to rule out the possibility of other factors that could not override the relationship between the antecedent and the consequent. Means one is, suppose for example, the price and demand concept we take. So there are two variables, one is demand, another is price. To make the relationship between price and demand to be valid, we have to keep some factors, some elements to be constant. So for that purpose, we take the concept of a ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means other things remain constant. That is a Latin word. Okay. Now, what is the concept of opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is defined as the next best alternative sacrificed amount. Okay, it is the next best and alternative which we sacrificed. That amount is known as the opportunity cost. So for example, suppose there is 1 acre of land. You have 1 acre of land, and where we can go for production of onion, or you can go for production of a potato. Suppose we go for production of a potato and it will give us 500 rupees, and for onion production we get 700 rupees. But we cannot produce onion or a potato at the same time from the same 1 acre of land. एक ही समय पर सेम लैंड से हम दो प्रोडक्ट को प्रोडक्शन नहीं कर पाएंगे, एक को सैक्रिफाइस करना पड़ेगा, दूसरे को सिलेक्शन करना पड़ेगा प्रोडक्शन के लिए. जिसको हमने सैक्रिफाइस कर दिया, that is known as the opportunity cost. In this example we sacrifice potato production because it is giving less revenue, that is 500 rupees, and we select go for production of onion which will give us 700 rupees. Here we select onion because it is giving maximum revenue and sacrifice potato production. So the sacrificed amount 500 rupees, that is not producing potato, is the opportunity cost of selecting onion or the production. Okay, so that is the next and the best, and which we have sacrificed, that amount is known as the opportunity cost. So again, opportunity cost means the next best alternative sacrificed amount. Now moving to the unit 2, which is talking about the circular flow of income in a different sectors, like your household sector, your farm sector, your government sector, your foreign sector, how income is moving from one sector to another sector. Because the income of one person is the expenditure of other person, and the expenditure of another person is the income of the first person. And how the income is moving in a circular manner, that we call as the circular flow of income from one sector to another sector. Okay, so circular flow is basically a model of the economy in which the major exchanges are represented as the flow of money, goods and services between the economic agents. Who are the economic agents? You are the household, you are the government, okay, and the farm, the foreign sector. So all are the economic agents. And the flow of money and the goods exchanged in a closed circuit corresponds in a value but run in the opposite direction. The circular flow of income or circular flow is a model of the economy in which the major exchanges are represented as the flow of money, goods, and services between economic agents. So the flow of money and goods exchange is a closed circle. That is the same thing. Okay. Now we see there is a two sector model where income is flows from one sector to another sector. Here there are two sectors are involved. One is household sector, another is a business sector. Okay. Now household sector, this कॉपर सल्फेट कलर जैसे फर्स्ट एरो मार्क ऊपर की तरफ अगर आप देखा जाए, हाउसहोल्ड सेक्टर्स आर प्रोवाइडिंग factors of production, labor basically, because labor is a element of the factors of production. Now the households means we the people provide labor services to the business units or the farms, to the company. In return the farm provides us the goods and services after production. Sorry, it provides us the personal income, that is the wages. Okay, जब हमने लेबर बिजनेस को और कंपनी को और फार्म को सप्लाई किया, तो इन रिटर्न कंपनी हमने क्या हमें क्या दिया, कंपनी ने हमें पर्सनल इनकम दे दिया, दैट इज इन टर्म्स ऑफ वेजेस और डिविडेंड्स. डिविडेंड्स मींस कंपनी ने प्रॉफिट दिया, हमें एक पार्ट ऑफ प्रॉफिट का हमें दे दिया. सो सिमिलरली हाउ बिजनेस इज रिलेटेड टू हाउसहोल्ड सेक्टर्स. बिजनेस प्रोडक्शन करने के बाद हमें गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज हमें दे दिया, इन रिटर्न वी पे फॉर दैट. So whatever income we earn through wages, now that is becomes the expenditure of household sectors, and it becomes the income of the business sector. So that means here income is moving from one sector to another sector. Okay, that is called as the two sector model, circular flow of income from one sector to another sector. You see, पहले क्या हुआ, हाउसहोल्ड सेक्टर ने लेबर दिया बिजनेस को, फार्म को दिया, उसके बदले में फार्म ने उसको वेजेस दिया, इनकम दे दिया. फिर उस इनकम को लेके हाउस होल्ड ने खरीदारी किया सामान वगैरह कंपनी से, दैट बिकम्स द एक्सपेंडिचर. जो इनकम उन्होंने कमाया था कंपनी से, उसको उन्होंने एक्सपेंडिचर कर दिया, स्पेंड कर दिया, खर्चा कर दिया कंपनी से प्रोडक्ट परचेज करके। देखो नीचे लिखा है बिजनेस ने कॉपर सल्फेट जो कलर दिखा है एरो मार्क दैट रिप्रेजेंट्स द गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज। सो जब हमने पैसा दे दिया कंपनी को तो कंपनी हमें सामान दे दिया दैट provides us goods and services. So that it shows that the income of one sector is the expenditure of other sector, and the expenditure of the first sector is the income of the second sector. So here two sectors are involved. So it is called as circular flow of income in two sector model. Moving further, we will discuss about how income is moving in a three sector model. You see here another sector is involved that is called as the government sector. You see from this diagram, there's a figure that shows that household supplies goods and services. Okay, to the household provides the labor, land, capital, entrepreneurial ability. पॉइंट नंबर टू में लिखा है, आप देख सकते हो पॉइंट नंबर टू जो राइट साइड में पॉइंट नंबर टू लिखा है रिमार्क्स। सो हाउसहोल्ड प्रोवाइड्स लैंड, लेबर, कैपिटल, एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप एक्टिव एबिलिटी टू द फार्म सेक्टर, एंड उसके बदले में फार्म ने उसे वेजेस और इंटरेस्ट प्रॉफिट वगैरह दे दिया। ग्रीन कलर जो है ऊपर लाइन में। ओके, अगेन आप लोग देख सकते हो हियर रिसोर्स मार्केट इज इन्वॉल्व हो गया। जब नीचे पार्ट में आप देखो प्रोडक्ट मार्केट इज इन्वॉल्व है, तो इसमें प्रोडक्ट मार्केट मतलब हाउस होल्ड को जब इनकम मिला हाउस होल्ड उसका स्पेंड कर दिया बाय परचेजिंग गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज फ्रॉम द बिजनेस सेक्टर। बिजनेस सेक्टर उसको बदले में गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज हाउस होल्ड सेक्टर को दे दिया बाय गेटिंग इनकम। But here the role of government comes, and it is called as three sector model. You see, government provides different types of facilities, parks, railway, hospital, road, canal, all these facilities to us, and in return we pay different types of taxes to the government. Okay, we pay different types of taxes like your income tax, GST, all the things taxes are to the government, and this becomes the income of the government. So government also purchases different types of goods and services from the business units, and in return, business provides the taxes, corporate taxes to the government, and that is in point number 11. जब जहाँ पर 11 लिखा है आप देखो net taxes. So business or the firm or the company pays net taxes to government, and in return, government provides different types of goods and services to the business. That is mentioned in point number 10. So in this way, resource market and product market is also linked with a government. You see, point number 7 and point number 8. When a resource market provides different types of resources to the government, and in return, government does some expenditures for the development of the resource sector, resource market. Similarly, the product market is also linked with the government. Okay, so product market, the farm provides goods and services to the government through the product market, and in return government does some expenditures by purchasing different types of goods from the business houses. So here you see three sectors are involved. One is the business, second one is the government, and third one is household. So here all these three units, three agents, economic agents are interlinked with each other. So everyone depends on the other. Suppose household provides different types of labor facilities, land facilities to the government or to the business. In return, government provides goods and services to the households. The business also provides goods and services to the household sector. Sometimes government also provides supplies different types of goods to the business sector. In return, business also pays taxes to the government. We the people also pay the taxes to the government. Government in return provides different facility to us. So here both means all these three sectors, business, government, and household, all these three sectors are involved. So it is called as the circular flow of income moving in three sector model, because your income of one sector becomes the expenditure of the other sector. So as here it is involved three sectors, government, household, and business, it is called a three sector model. So circular flow of income in this three sector model. Now we will discuss about the four sector model. So how four sector model, we call it as four sector model because here four economic agents has been involved. One is household sector, second one is business sector, third one is government sector, and the fourth one is foreign sector or foreign market. You see, all these arrows are interlinked with each other. You can see very clearly that first household provides supply of labor resources to the business unit, and in return, business unit by engaging these laborers purchases different types of goods and services from the household sector. Household sector also purchases different types of products from the business sector, and in return, business sector supplies different types of products to the household sector. So here, business and household are linked. So government also provides different types of services to the household sectors and also to the business sectors, farms. In return, government also receives different types of taxes from the household sector and also corporate taxes from the business sector. But when the foreign market is involved, it becomes the four sector model. You see, the yellow lines are indicating to the foreign sector. You see, household is depending on foreign sector by providing different types of labor resources to the foreign sector because we the people like engineers, doctors, managers, they are working in foreign countries and get some income from the foreign market, foreign companies. So household is linked with the foreign. Government also takes different types of projects from different types of monetary sources from the foreign countries and does different types of MOUs are signed with the foreign government for the development of the country. So here the government is linked with the foreign market or foreign sector. Business sector is also linked with the foreign for import and export of goods and services to the foreign countries. So here business is also linked. So here you can say business is linked through the product market, whereas household is linked with the different types of okay resources, raw materials are to the business sector. So here all these four sectors, foreign sector, business sector, government sector, household sector are always interlinked. Okay, so you clearly mentioned how all these four sectors are interlinked with each other. So that is called as the income of one person is the expenditure of other sector, and the expenditure of other sector becomes income of the first sector. So here, as it is four sectors are involved, so we call it as the circular flow of income in two sector. Sorry, in four sector model. Here there is involvement of four economic agents: household, government, business, and foreign market. Already I have discussed all these things. You can say how the households and the farms are interlinked with the rest of the world through this red color circle and arrow marks are given export and import. So फार्म क्या करता है एक्सपोर्ट इंपोर्ट बिजनेस करता है फॉरेन सेक्टर के साथ और हाउस होल्ड पे लोन लेता है बैंक से फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस उसके बदले उसके उसने रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट देता है and that becomes the income of the banks or financial institutions and financial institution or the banks also coming under the government. Government also purchase goods and services from the companies, from the farms. Okay, so you see the income is moving from one sector to another sector. So that is called as circular flow of income in four sector model. Now the last topic of this today's class is the national income concept. So national income basically the indicators or the elements which are involved in the national income, that is gross national product, gross domestic product. Okay, so gross national product is also there are two types: market price, gross national product at market price, gross national product at factor cost. GDP at a market price, GDP at a factor cost. So here GDP is not mentioned, but one of the most important thing in case of a national income is the GDP. GDP is defined as the gross domestic product. It is the total production of goods and services in the whole country, and the money value. Okay, the money value of all the goods and services that is produced in the whole country in a year or in an accounting period or in a financial year is called as the GDP. So GDP is the total money value of all the goods and services that is produced in the whole country within a year is called as the GDP. GDP is also two types. When we calculate by taking the market price of all the goods and services that is produced in a country, that is called GDP at market price. Now, whatever products we produce by engaging in different factors of a production like land, labor, capital, organization, basic factors of production, and that is called as GDP at factor cost. Similarly, here is also mentioned GNP. GNP is the gross national product. Gross national product means the total money value of all the goods and services that is produced within the political boundary of the country, and that is only by the residents of Indians. That is gross national product. But in case of a GDP, we can include the residents and the non-residents, whatever they are producing in our country, that is called as GDP. GDP में हम क्या करते हैं, बाहर कंपनी का प्रोडक्शन और हमारे देश का भी कंपनी का प्रोडक्शन और फॉरेन जो भी प्रोडक्शन होता है, जो भी इनकम्स आते हैं कंपनी से बाहर कंट्री से, ओके, दैट इंक्लूड होता है जीडीपी में. बट जीएनपी में फैक्टर इनकम जो भी बाहर आता है वो इंक्लूड नहीं किया जाता है. दैट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन जीडीपी एंड जीएनपी. जीडीपी में फैक्टर इनकम सो इंक्लूड किया जाता है, नेट फैक्टर इनकम फ्रॉम द फॉरेन दैट इज इंक्लूडेड. बट इन केस ऑफ जीएनपी, the factor income from abroad, that is not included. That is only by the residents. Whatever goods and produce are produced in our country within a year, bought by only the nationals, only by the Indians, not by the foreigners. That is the gross national product. Similarly, gross national product is also two types: gross national product at market price, gross national product at factor cost. Now, what is gross national product at market price? Now, it is the sum of the values of currently produced goods and services without the duplication over a year by the normal residents of an economy. That is gross depreciation, where goods and services are valued at the market price. And already I have told. So whenever we took the market price for calculation of GNP, then we call it as the gross national product. Okay, for suppose we take into account the suppose the kurkure price. So whatever the price is 10 rupees. So whenever we calculate the GNP at market price of that kurkure is 10 rupees, then it is called as GNP at market price. Okay. And in case of calculation of national income, basically we took the concept of only final product. We do not take the concept of intermediate products for calculation of national income basically. Because to avoid double counting, we do not include the intermediate products. Intermediate products are those products which helps for the production of final products. So the shirt becomes the final product, but the cloth is called as the intermediate product. जो अगर अगर हम कैलकुलेशन करेंगे क्लॉथ को फाइनल प्रोडक्ट में, तो जो तूला होता है, जो रॉ कॉटन होता है, दैट बिकम्स योर इंटरमीडिएट प्रोडक्ट्स. सो वी डू नॉट टेक द रॉ कॉटन फॉर द कैलकुलेशन नेशनल इनकम, वी टेक द ओनली क्लॉथ्स. बट इफ यू आर टेकिंग द कैलकुलेशन ऑफ shirt directly, then we take the shirt price, but we do not take the concept of clothes. Okay, so we for the calculation of national income, we took the concept of only final products, final prices. Okay, final product, not the intermediate products. So whenever we calculate GNP at a factor cost, it implies that whenever we take the factor prices, suppose we took the concept of wages for the labor and rent for the land, okay, interest for the capital and the profit for the manager or the organizer. Okay, so whenever we add all these factors, then say it means the wages and the interest, okay, and the profit, okay, the rent, and we calculate the GNP, we call it as the calculation of GNP at factor cost. So if you take the formula, market price minus net indirect taxes. Okay. And net national product NNP at market price. There is also a concept when we deduct the depreciation charges from the GNP, we get the NNP. So NNP is the net national product, is the sum of value that is currently produced in our country over a year minus the depreciation charges, that is called as the NNP at market price. So it is the sum of the value that is produced minus the depreciation charges. Now the question is, what is depreciation? Depreciation means the wear and tear charges. They fall in value of fixed assets. Suppose you have purchased one car at a cost of 5 lakhs, but after 5 years you want to sell that car and the value will not be exactly 5 lakhs. That value may be 1 lakh. So where has gone the 4 lakhs? That 4 lakhs becomes the depreciation charges because the car has been old. So depreciation means the value or the fall in value of the fixed assets. So whenever we deduct the depreciation from the GNP, then we get the NNP. So NNP is the net national product at market prices. So when we calculate by taking the market prices of the products, then it is called as the net national product at market prices. Another thing already I have discussed, that net national product at factor cost, when we calculate by taking into consideration the factor prices, the wages, and the rent, interest, and the profit, and we calculate the net national product. That is called as the net national product at factor cost. That means whenever we deduct net national product and market price minus the indirect taxes, net indirect taxes. Okay, that is called as the NNP at factor cost. Okay, so there are different concepts. GDP, there is also formula. Again, we can talk about the GDP concept. GDP का जो formula होगा C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Here it is not mentioned, but I am saying that you just note down that GDP means the gross domestic product. The formula for calculation of GDP is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. C means the consumption expenditure done by the households. I stands for the private investments. All the private companies, whatever they are investing, that is private investment I. And the concept is G. G stands for the government expenditure. Means government also does some expenditure in terms of school, college, hospital, road, canal, airport, okay, parks. So all these things. So government does some investments. So C plus I plus G plus X minus M. X stands for exports, M stands for imports. X का मतलब होता है exports, M का मतलब होता है imports. So whatever net exports that is we get, that is included in the calculation of GDP. So the clear formula for the, or the full formula for calculation of GDP is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Okay. So now the next concept is called as the NNP or national income. National income, the income of a nation, or we can say the income whatever we derive in a year by the production of goods and services after selling all these activities. So that is called as national income. That is, you can call it the net national product is basically the national income of the country, because we have already minused all these depreciation and the indirect taxes. Okay. Now what is PDI? Personal income. Income of a person. It is not mentioned. The next concept is the personal income. Personal income, the income of a person from different sources. That is personal income. Suppose a person is, suppose one lecturer is working in a college and is getting some remuneration, and after college hour is providing coaching facilities. That is also another income, and is also working somewhere else within the free time and also getting some income. That put together from these different sources, that becomes the income of a person, income of that lecture. So that is called as the income of a person from different sources. Okay. Suppose a person or a labor is working in a company and getting some income or some wages. After free hour, also he is doing nearest to his village, getting some income. In overnight, he is working somewhere else and getting some income. So you can say income of a person from different sources is become the personal income. And whenever we pay the taxes to the government, that is income tax. So personal income minus personal taxes, that is income tax, that becomes the personal disposable income, PDI. So PDI means personal disposable income. That is the actual income of a person after paying all types of taxes. So whatever income is remaining from the personal income, that is called as the personal disposable income. Okay. So I think we have covered all the points of this introductory to macroeconomics. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me. So thank you for a patience of dear students. You can ask any question. So any question you can ask me, uh, my dear students. No questions? Or you need some discussion on in any point? You can ask me. Any question, dear learners? No question. Or you need any explanation? You can chat. You can comment on the comment box also. Yes, Mausumi, Disri, Manjulika, Dota. So you can write your questions on the chat box, on the comment box in the right side. So I can answer your questions. So no questions. So we have covered different points from Unit 1, that is your utility, wealth, goods, demand, supply, exchange, okay, marginal utility, okay, total utility, and another things is economic laws, equilibrium concept. Equilibrium means equilibrium is a word which is derived from the equilibrium, which means equal. Okay. So whenever the two variables are equal with each other, we get the equilibrium point. Suppose, for example, in case of demand and supply, there are two variables. Okay. So whenever with the intersection of a demand and a supply curve, we get a point which is known as the equilibrium point or equal point. Okay. So where demand and supply both are equal. That is we call it as the equilibrium concept. Equilibrium basically means the equal point. And we have already discussed different points of positive economics, normative economics, okay, and what is stock and what is flow, and what is static concept, what is dynamics concept, and what is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is nothing but it is the next best on alternative sacrificed amount, okay. And also we have discussed about the wealth, individual wealth, social wealth, national wealth, international wealth, financial wealth. All these concepts we have discussed. Further, we have discussed what is the goods. Goods are the having the physical existence, whereas the service that do not have any physical existence. Okay, and goods can be transferred from one place to another, but services cannot be transferred from one place to another place. We have also discussed the concept of a demand and what is the relationship between demand and price. Uh, so to be called demand in economics, there are three things to be fulfilled. That is the desire for a commodity, ability to pay, and the willingness to purchase of a commodity. Okay, so demand and price are inverse related to each other or negative related to each other. As price increases, demand falls, and as price decreases, demand increases. Okay, so negative relationship between price. And we have also discussed about the concept supply, utility. Okay, the one satisfying power of a commodity is known as the utility. Okay, marginal utility, the additional or extra utility we derive from the consumption of goods is called as the marginal utility. Okay, from this table you can calculate. So total utility, how from the total utility, how can we derive the marginal utility? Total unit of utility of nth unit minus total utility of n minus 1 unit. That is the formula for calculation of marginal utility. So the present utility minus the previous utility, then we get the marginal utility. Next, we have already discussed the microeconomics and macroeconomics. Microeconomics basically is the individual case, small things, whereas macroeconomics is talks about the whole case or the large case or the country or the economic case. So categorically, point wise, we have already discussed all these things: positive economics and normative economics. Okay, positive economics and normative economics. Positive economics is basically objective and scientific, whereas normative economics is subjective, depends on the value judgments. Stock and flow, stock and flow concept. Stock is basically at a point of time. Stock is measured at a particular point of time, whereas a flow is measured during period of time in the whole year, in the whole month, you can say. And stock is a static concept, whereas flow is a dynamic or a changing concept. We have already discussed the concept about static economics, and also the dynamic economics. Dynamics always changing, dynamic economics. Static economic remains constant. Further, we have discussed the concept of ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus means it's a Latin word which means other things remaining constant, higher the price. Sorry, other things remaining constant means the income, the technology, the habits, customs, lifestyle, all the things remains constant. In case of basically law of supply, law of demand, we use basically any economic principles and laws, these concepts ceteris paribus, to make the theory valid. So ceteris paribus is the Latin phrase which means other things remaining constant. So opportunity cost we have already discussed with an example that opportunity cost is the next best alternative and sacrificed amount, okay, which we sacrificed, that is called as the opportunity cost. And a surplus for income and expenditure from one sector to two sector. Whenever there are two sectors are involved, that is household and business sector or farm, then we call as the circular flow for income in two sector model. So whenever there are three sectors are involved, one is business, government, and household, then we call it as the circular flow of income in a three sector model, because here three sectors, household, government, business, are linked with each other. They are providing different types of services to each other, and in return they are getting some incomes. So income of business becomes the expenditure of the government, and the government's expenditure becomes the income of the business. Similarly, household also supply different types of services to the government, and in return they get some different goods and services from the government. So here the resource market and product market both are involved, and we call it as the three sector model. In four sector model, the income is also flows from four sectors, and that becomes the expenditure of the four sectors. So income of one sector becomes the expenditure of other sector. So income is moving in a circular manner. So we call it as a four sector because your government sector additionally is involved. Household, government, business, and foreign sectors. So here four sectors are involved. So we call it as a four sector model. Now here you can say national income concept we have already discussed. GDP, GNP, NNP, and NNP at a factor cost, GDP at a factor cost, GDP at a market price, NNP at a market factor cost. So all these things we have discussed in detail. So national income is also calculated by different methods. Your product method, income method, and expenditure method. Basically, in case of product method, we calculate the final value of the money value of the final products, not the intermediate products. I already have told intermediate products are those products which helps for the production of further product. So cloth is the final product, cotton is the intermediate product. Okay. So in calculation of national income through product method, we only take the final product's price, not the intermediate products. Okay. So in product method, the calculation is C plus I plus G, consumption expenditure, investment expenditure, and government expenditure. So whatever expenditure we do in case of production, that is called as the product method calculation of national income. Next is your calculation of national income through income method. So whenever we calculate by taking the factors of production, लैंड लेबर कैपिटल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का जो जो फैक्टर है जैसे कि लैंड का रेंट, लेबर का वेजेस, कैपिटल का इंटरेस्ट एंड द ऑर्गेनाइजर का प्रॉफिट. So whenever we calculate the national income by adding all these wages, profit, interest, okay, rent, we call it as the calculation of national income through factor method. Okay, income method जिसको हम बोलते हैं factor income method. And the third one is the expenditure method. In expenditure method, basically we include the consumption expenditure, investment expenditure, and the government expenditure. C plus I plus J. Basically, uh, in case of basically expenditure method, we took the calculation. Whatever expenditure is done by the household sectors, that is C, and whatever expenditures are done by the private persons, private employees, private owners, private companies, that is the private expenditure. And the government also does some amount of expenditure for the benefit of the citizens, school, college, hospital, road, canal, airport. So that is also the expenditure done by the government, that G. So in the expenditure method we take into basically C plus I plus G. So that is calculation through expenditure method. And first of all, I have told again, just clarifying your doubts, that in case of a product method, we only take the money value of the final products. Here we do not include the expenditure things, C plus I plus G. Okay, so be clear. Only the final products, whatever products are produced in a year, and we take the money value, only the final products, not the internal products. That is called as calculation national through the product method. So in this way, basically India applies the combined method of national income calculation. At a time, two or three methods are used for the calculation of national income in India, basically. So this is all about from my side. If you have any question, you can ask me. So please respond through your chat box or any. By you can unmute your mic and you can ask me any question. Otherwise, we will end up this class. Any question? Please ask me. Yes,
Hello, sir.
Anand. Yes, yes.
Uh, sir, madam ବୋଧେ ଆସିନାହାନ୍ତି madam.
Okay, I don't know exactly. So, Anand, you have any doubt? You can ask me. Otherwise, we will end up the class because I think madam is not there.
No, sir, any message?
नो क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम योर साइड. कोई क्वेश्चन है तो आप पूछ सकते हो या तो हम एंड अप करेंगे इस क्लास को. एनी क्वेश्चन आनंद? कोई क्वेश्चन है?
नहीं,
Your voice is not clearly audible to me. You can chat.
no, sir. No, sir. No question,
Okay,
sir.
okay, okay. So thank you, Anand, and all the dear students to have a patience for attending the classes. So thank you all. We will meet in the next class. Thank you all. Thank you.